Namaskaram.
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 We'll get it started. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Shri Shailabhijanambura Shishashanam Sri Krishna Tatatmajam Sri Shailanve Devanath Sudhya Prapta Gaman Tadvayam Padabje Narsimha Tataya Guroho Nyastatma Raksha Bharam Vidvat Duranda Chakora Chandiramaham Shri Ramanujaryam Shraye Shri Ranga Sudha Madhusamaswadayantam Shri Ranga Mahishi Padapankajatmajam Sulabhashrayam Sadamoda Siddham Adbhutam Bhajeham Gurum Tam Ranganatha Priyam Sukhasanastham Hridayabja Pithe Chinmudraya Alankrita Pani Padmam Shubhopavitam Vimalodhapundram Namami Rangam Gurumantarenge Namami Yoga Samraki Vijayam Vijayapradam Srirangardhasanāsīnām Karunām Mamātaram Guru Rupa Paranjyotihi Jyoti Rupa Guru Paraha Ajnana Mandiram Kyetate Kuru Vijnana Mandiram Mukhaṁ Karoti Vācālam Pangum Langhete Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Mande Paramananda Madhavam Yontah Pravishya Mama Vācamimāṁ Prasuptāṁ Sanjīvayatyakila Shaktidhara Swadhamna Anyamscha Hastacharana Shravanatvagadīne Pranān Namo Bhagavate Purushāya Tubhyam Jaityāshrita Santrāsa Dhvanta Vidvamsanodaya Prabhāvān Sītaya Devyā Paramavyoma Bhaskaraha Sakrideva Prapannāya Tavasmīti Chayājate Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyah Dadāmyetat Mama Jnanānandamayam Devam Nirmalasphटिकाकृतिम् Ādhāram Sarvavidyānām Hayagrivam Upasmahe Jnanānandamayim Devim Nirmalasphटिकाकृतिम् Ādhāram Sarvavidyānām Parām Vācam Upasmahe. With salutations to our Guru and the Guru of all Gurus, will commence our session today. Thank you for responses that we have received so far on the Google Forms and for registering. This is just to do the housekeeping better. For those of you who are not yet aware of this, you will have to go to the WhatsApp group and the description. There you will find various links. This link hopefully should work next week. As usual, if there is any technical glitch, we will share the link on that day. We don't expect any at this point of time. And I did receive a preliminary information on the demographics. So most of us are in the age group 30 and above. So there are about 65% of us who are in the 30 to 50 and the remaining mostly beyond 50. But there is nobody less than 30. So again, as we requested, this session, of course, there's hardly 1%. I can see one person here. Probably there are one or two more in the group here. Please do encourage, young people to attend this session. The intent is that Sanatana Dharmam is so very profound that it is important to sow the seeds at the right point of time. And, the more we hear about this, the more we will be inclined to think about it. And it will also be very useful for them throughout their life. So it is not to discourage those who are older to attend. Of course, it is important for everybody to, even it doesn't matter however old we are or whatever stage in life we are, even to think of Lord Rama and his entire divine retinue at any point of time in our life will be, in fact, very purifying for us. There is a diversity also in terms of languages. Can anybody guess what is the language which most of us know, the highest ranking language? I had asked for Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Hindi, Sanskrit.
English.
Yes, who said that? You get full marks.
Revati.
You get full marks. The language that integrates all of us seems to be English. And of course, I may hone my own English during the course of these sessions. After English comes Tamil, then Telugu. So I have shared the Dhyana shlokas in, of course, there are a few of us who also know Sanskrit. That's nice to know. Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam, as we said in the previous session, is a very, very simple Sanskritic text written in Anushtup Chandas. In fact, in the olden days, if you are to become a Sanskrit Vidwan, the first thing they would ask you to do is to go and learn Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam under a guru, of course. And it becomes easy for you to get what is known as Vyutpatti in Sanskrit. That is, what are the different words, what are the different word forms, how are sentences formed, and things like that. It becomes, the more you are familiar with words in Sanskrit, the more you will start understanding what they are and use them as part of your further studies. So in that context, it's nice to know that some of you already know Sanskrit. And the intent of these sessions, as we have mentioned earlier, is to understand what is Sundara Kandam, and more so from a deeper meaning perspective. So as I hinted, that we will not be teaching how to do Parayanam of Sundara Kandam, that most of you will already be doing according to some Paddhati. But before we learn about Sundara Kandam, in the last class, we started to look at the foundations of Srimad Ramayanam itself. And in this session today, we will cover a little bit more detail on the foundations. And although I had set out a target of 20 slokas per session, I am not confident myself how many will be able to cover per session. So that's we call that as the KPI, like key performance indicator for these sessions. Luckily, the boss here is the Lord himself, who is so compassionate. He will be okay even if we cover 2 or 3 slokas in some sessions. Some sessions we may cover more than 20. But, let us go through this as a journey. Most of you may have already learned Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam under some other tutors. Please bear with me if there are any sort of shortcomings in the sessions here. Those are purely mine in nature. Anything useful you find here, anything enlightening, I dedicate that solely to my acharyas and gurus. So in the last class, we wanted to understand what is Srimad Ramayanam. Most of us who have seen Ramanand Sagar's Ramayanam, right? That is our entry to Ramayanam. Even before our parents would have told there is a text called Srimad Ramayanam, right? It's a story, isn't it? It's a story about Lord Rama, Sita, and we all are quite familiar with it. So it is treated as a mythological story because many of the concepts or the aspects of the story, in those days are traditionally treated as unquestionable, beyond questions. Yeah. Question on it will become embarrassing for the questioner as well as the person who is asked, unless he is a learned scholar or a vidwan. So therefore, there was an aspect of faith when we start listening to this story. So there is a mythological aspect associated with this story. There are a lot of gods, demigods, demons that appear in this story. But there is also a storyline. Yeah, any movie that we see, we look at, you want to go to Netflix or Amazon, we look at the storyline, who are the heroes, and then we click on, okay, let's take a look at the trailer and then go into the movie. Likewise, there is indeed a storyline here that has all the Navarasas embedded in them. Yeah, the 9 different rasas, starting from Shringaram through Veeram, then through Hasyam, then Karunyam, and so on, all the way up to Shantam. All the 9 rasas are depicted in abundance throughout this beautiful story. And the purpose of creating such an epic is to actually attract. The reason why we ask the demographics is it attracts all age groups. There is something that less than 10s can feel about in Srimad Ramayanam, youngsters, very young children. So the moment you talk about this story, they'll be very happy to, listen the story from their grandmothers and grandfathers, and they'll go to sleep. There is also something for the youth to learn from this story. The moment you look at the valor of Sri Rama and how at a very young age, he first of all learned Vidya under great gurus, and then he himself, started being a Kshatriya. He understood the art of war. And in fact, he became man of the match in many wars, starting with Tatagai and all that. Isn't he? He had a coach called Sage Vishwamitra. So there's a inspiration for the youth. There is equally an inspiration for the people, who are into the romance, those who are, of course, I'm talking of those who are eligible bachelors and spinsters. Okay. Don't take this as any cue if you are a married person here. Okay. I don't intend to create any rift in your family. So those who are bachelors and spinsters, what is romance? Who do you seek as your life partner? What are the attributes? Right? So there is abundant information about the couples who are spoken about in Srimad Ramayanam, be it Lord Rama himself with Sita or Lakshmana with Urmilai and so on. So there's a beautiful description of how the individuals matched with each other. Of course, today we go to matrimony.com and match the so-called horoscopes, not horoscopes. We will see how many of the attributes match, right? And then finally we say life is all about positives and negatives. என்ன 32 வரலன்னா என்ன இப்போ ஏதோ மேட்ச் ஆகுது அதனால பண்ணிட்டு போயிடும் அப்ப बाद में देखा जाएगा, right? And that is how we all ended up in where we are today. But even before getting married, how do you suit your the so-called process of dating? அதெல்லாம் நம்ம ஸ்ரீமத் ராமாயணத்துல பார்க்கணும். You shouldn't go to any dating app today and learn about how to date randomly. The criteria for dating and so on is beautifully laid out in Srimad Ramayanam. So there is enough for that age group. And then once you get married, you start to lead the householder's life. There are adarsh householders, right? What is householding actually? What are the aspects of, leading the life of a householder, which is basically, you work from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., then drop dead, isn't it? Then check your bank account if some money has, trickled into your account. And then weekend, suddenly you realize you have a family, there are kids, right? So that's the digital age that we all live in today, isn't it? And at the end of the day, everybody blaming each other. So is that how we should lead the life? If you were to look at Srimad Ramayana, the householder's life, as they call as the Arsha Dharma, is essentially consisting of 4 different pillars. What are they? Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, not the Kama. Okay, it is the Kama of Sanskrit and Moksham. So we are supposed to lead the life of a householder where these are not sequential. முதல்ல தர்மம் பண்ணுவோம், அதுக்கப்புறம் அர்த்தம், அதுக்கப்புறம் காமம், அதுக்கப்புறம் மோட்சம். Of course, that is how eventually it will turn out into. But these are all interwoven in our daily lives. They all get mixed up. But the foundation of all of this is dharma. Without dharma, the other 3 are in fact not attainable at all. And Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma, as they say. Rama is the embodiment of dharma. And there's a lot we can learn about what is dharma. In fact, we will go through these slokas in Balakandam. We will exactly know why we should, adore Lord Rama. Ramana edukaga puganam. And atanilo unna kalyana gunamalu emi. What are the brilliant Atma Gunas that he has? How they outshine others, and so on and so forth. So there is enough for the householders. And then, of course, as they say, Vardhakye Munivirtinam Yogena Ante Tanutyajam. The shloka, famous shloka of Kalidasa, it says, Saishave Abhyasta Vidyanam Yavane Vishayeshinam Vardhakye Munivirtinam Yogena Ante Tanutyajam. That's how one should lead the life. Saishave Abhyasta Vidyanam. When you are young, youthful, with all the neurons in your brain firing and all your muscles trying to stretch, that is when you should learn all the vidyas. It's not just going to CBSE, ICSE, GCSE, etc. But all the 64 different kalas that are prescribed in Sanatana Dharma. Then Yavane Visayeshinam, when you become youthful, you indeed become interested in various Vishayas, various new things that you can acquire in life. And having acquired one of the 64 kalais is also Atma Jnanam. Having attained the Supreme Brahman, before you become a householder, this is the theory, practice. Then you become super proficient in seeing the Divine Lord in all the senses, and therefore it is okay. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarishabha, as Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. You can enjoy the the tree of life, so to say, and ensure that there is progeny that can replicate this thought process and live it through. So that is the second phase of life. Then Vardhakye Munivrittinam, the moment you become older in life, you become a Muni. As they say, Munina Maunam. As they say, in the first year after marriage, the wife says and the husband listens. Second year, The husband says and the wife listens. The third year, both of them speak and the neighbors listen. Abdin Solva. So therefore, we need to ensure that there is peace in our life. Peace comes through Maunam. Maunat Muniruchyate. And Maunam is basically an act of, again, as we mentioned earlier, like tapas, drawing your senses inward and getting closer to the Paramatman. That is when you will actually become a Mauni. Not when, we do Maunavradam. Everything will be code language. That's coffee kondu idli vada ellam kondu varanum. So that is not Maunam. Maunam is when we restrain our senses and think of something which is beyond the senses. That is when you become Vardhakye Muni Vrittinam Yogena Ante Tanutejam. When all of this happens in this sequence, there is no need for you to worry about what will happen hereafter. Hereafter, once you drop the body and leave, you don't have to worry about what happens. I see a hand raising there, doctor.
I guess it is a mistake.
It's a mistake? Okay.
She's trying to connect morning.
Okay. I treat that as a blessing from that person. Okay. Vardhakye Muni Vrittinam Yogena Ante Tanutyajam. So therefore, Srimad Ramayanam has things enough for the Maunis. Yeah. And the Mauningar illada poitana Kaikei mari aidum. So the moment you start encouraging the so-called tamasic gunam of anger, a sense of jealousy, adallam Aru Shatrulu, yeah, as Saint Tyagaraja sings Aru Shatrulanu in his song in Sahana Ragam for the Lord Rama. So the Kama Krodhadi Arishadvargamulu. The moment you entertain all of that, you become a Kaikeyi. And then all the peace will be shattered. Yeah. So that is about what is there for the Munis. But what is also reserved for the Moksharthis, right? Is there anything for the Sannyasis? Should they read Srimad Ramayanam? Abdin question pota. Indeed, yes. They get to know who the Divine Lord is in all his glory. Of course, Srimad Ramayanam is not as explicit as Srimad Bhagavatam, where the Lord, the moment he is born, he is showing who he is. Chaturbhujam, Shankachakrathoda varar. Adukapram 3 வயசுலயே கை கால்லாம் ஆட்டி அசுரர்கள்லாம் கொல்றார் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு தான் வந்துட்டு பரமாத்மாங்கிறது சின்ன வயசுல இருந்தே காட்டுறார். Whereas in Srimad Ramayanam, it shows the Gambhiryam of the Divine Lord. And there are only a few places, very, very few places where Sage Valmiki actually refers to the Lord as an avatara of Mahavishnu. And otherwise, largely it is treated as somebody who came down to earth, had divine qualities, etc. So therefore, moksham is not that easy. And probably to show that, you have to put in a lot of effort. That's the reason why the so-called seed for Jnanam is also laid in Srimad Ramayanam, but it is only for those who do that effort. And the effort podlenaka, you will not be able to extract the essence of Srimad Ramayanam. And the sannyasis also can relish Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. Therefore, this is indeed not just a story. In fact, it is also his story, history. It is called as Itihasam. Srimad Ramayanam comes under the category of Itihasam. That means this is indeed something which happened in the past. And is it approved by the Department of Archaeology? That's a different story. It depends on where you dig. You have to dig for the true information with the true mechanisms. But beyond Itihasam, Srimad Ramayanam is also an Adi Kavyam. as we indicated earlier, it has a poetic nature to it. So it's a story, it is history, it is Adikavyam. Is there anything else to Srimad Ramayanam Abdinaka? Ide Veda Vedya Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje Veda Prache Tasadasite Sakshad Ramayanatmana. So this Srimad Ramayanam can indeed verily be considered as one of the Vedas themselves. Why? Abdinaka Vedamna enade Vedam Abdin Sunaka Adala Swarangalna Irkanum, Ghanamla Irkanum. You are supposed to learn it with a Veda Vidwan. But what do the Vedas essentially talk about? Vedas talk about the Divine Lord, His creation, the process of creation, the process of life itself. But there are many different ways of acquiring this knowledge. And there are many different ways through which Vedas themselves can be chanted. The most important thing about Vedas is not just how they are written up, the swarams, etc. But most importantly, what do those statements communicate to us? Yeah. So kamayata bahusyam prajayeti abdin or statement irukku. Abdina ennadhu abdin purinjikkanum. Adu purinjikkaradhukku you have to go to an acharya, and if you go to an acharya, he is somebody who will teach you what exactly is the meaning of that statement. And the meaning of purinjikkanumna modalla vedam kattunduvaanu solluva. Unless you start studying the statements in the Vedas, அது தெரிஞ்சாதான் அது என்னன்னு கேட்கறதுக்கு நம்மளுக்கு ஒரு தூண்டுதல் வரும். Otherwise, you will not be able to understand what is being spoken about. However, வேதம் கத்துக்கணும் அப்படின்னா எவ்வளவு ஈஸி எவ்வளவு கஷ்டம் அப்படிங்கிறது நம்மள பலருக்கு தெரியும் இல்லையா? இந்த காலத்துல வேதம் தெரிஞ்சவாலே ரொம்ப குறைச்சல், தெரிஞ்சவா அவருடைய டைம் கொடுக்கறது இன்னும் குறைச்சல். It is very difficult for somebody to give us time to learn Vedas, and it's not easy to by heart all of that. Is there an alternative? Abdinaka? Yes, there are texts like Srimad Ramayanam. And why do we treat it as Vedas? Abdinaka? Veda Vedya Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje. Dasharathanukku Pillaya Paranda Srimad Ramachandra Murti. Sri Ramachandra was the Atmaja of Dasharatha. Atmajana, Dasharatha, he was born to Dasharatha. And who is he? Abdina Veda Vedya Pare Pumsi. He is himself who is to be seen by the Vedas, Veda Vedyam, or learnt through Vedas. The subject matter of Srimad Ramayanam is indeed the Veda Purusha called Sri Ramachandra. So Vedas talk about the Divine Lord. Likewise, Srimad Ramayanam also talks about the Divine Lord, who is none other than the son of Dasharatha. And who is the creator of this? For Vedas Naka, one of the classic statements is Vedas are apaurushaya. They are not created by anybody. Purushan abdinna individuals, and apaurushayam abdinnaka it is not created by any individual abdin or artham. But there is a lot more deeper meaning to it. We'll take a look at it at some point. But the fact is that Vedas have essentially come from great rishis. It is the seers, S-E-E-R. If you were to spend 2 minutes on the meaning of seer, we will know that seer is somebody who sees. They are somebody who have had the darshan of the divinity. Only they will be able to describe the Lord as he is. Therefore, the rishis are those who essentially experience the divine being. And it is to be noted that if the Vedas are chanted in a particular manner and with due respect to the individual who has seen that particular divinity, and we adopt the same process that the person used in order to see the divinity, then it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, and in what state you are. When you are chanting it, then you will also realize the divinity. I think I made a very difficult statement. Let me unfurl what I mentioned. So if you are given, let's say, a recipe, right? So how to make, let's say, sambar. So how do you make sambar? So a recipe will be given to you. So, ingredients 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you will also be given a specific manner in which you are supposed to do the sambar. For those of us who are familiar with how to make sambar, we will know that we don't, use oil and mustard as the very first step in sambar. That's the very last step, isn't it? So that, for some of us, maybe we reverse the process. So what happens is there is a process here. If you do not follow the process, then of course the end product that you get will not be sambar. It will be, you can call it with any name that you want. However, if you have noticed, you may get recipes from the same expert. If 10 people here cook the same sambar, will we get the same taste? What will be the answer? I see too many heads nodding there, isn't it? Even the same person cooking on 2 different days, the taste will change, correct? You follow the same recipe, the taste sambar will become rasam on that day. So therefore, the process has to be adhered to. More importantly, you should not be making sambar when you are listening to Sundara Kandam. Correct? Sambar pandrache, sambar la manas irukanum. Where is your mind? So the mind is the most important ingredient. So if you do not add that spirit into the process, then it doesn't matter what you are cooking, right? We pity the individuals who are tasting that sambar. Therefore, likewise, when we talk of Vedas, they are not to be treated as something which was written. Of course, there's a lot of debate on, was it 600 BC, 2000 BC, 3000 BC? No. The fact is that they talk about universal truths. They are valid even today, right? That's the reason why they are treated as deshattukum kalattukum meerinadu. It goes beyond space and time. Unless we respect that spirit, then there is no point in going through Vedic chants. But having learned chanting, it is important to understand their meaning. And having learned the meaning, it is important to follow what is mentioned there. So therefore, Srimad Ramayanam is a great alternative where you don't have to go through the very difficult process. This is for the wider humanity. It is not to say that you stop learning Vedas. No, please don't treat it that way. But what is the easier alternative? Veda pracheta sada site. Pracheta sar abdina yar abdin question. Pracheta sahana ka Valmiki rishi. இது எப்படி அப்படின்னாக்கா, கணேசன்னா யாருன்னா கணபதி, கணபதினா யாருன்னா விநாயகர், விநாயகர்னா யார் அண்ணா பாலச்சந்திரர், இல்லையா? இப்படி போயிட்டே இருக்கும். ஆனாக்கா ஈச் வேர்ட் இன் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் ஹாஸ் a மீனிங். ஸோ வால்மீகினா வால்மீகின்ற பதத்துக்கு ஒரு அர்த்தம் இருக்கு. அதே மாதிரி there is a meaning for Prachetasah. Why is he called as Prachetasah? சேதம் அப்படிங்கிற வேர்ட் இருக்குது. அப்படின்னா அவருடைய சித்தம், அவருடைய மனசு எங்க இருக்கு அப்படிங்கிறது கொஸ்டின். His mind is something that is consumed in the divine Lord. It is consumed in divinity. So he has seen the Jyoti Swarupam of the divine Lord. Therefore he is called as a Prachetasa. ஏன்னாக்கா அங்க வால்மீகின்னு சொல்லப்படாது இந்த ஸ்லோகத்துல. There is a meaning for that. மேல என்ன சொல்லிருக்கு, வேத வேத்திய பரே பும்சின்னு சொல்லிருக்கு இல்லையா. வேதம்ங்கிறது பரமாத்மனுடைய ஸ்வரூபத்தை குறிக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு டெக்ஸ்ட். சத்தியம் ஞானம் அனந்தம் பிரம்மா அப்படின்னு சொல்லக்கூடிய பரபிரம்மனை பத்தி சொல்லக்கூடியதுதான் வேதங்கள். அது ஜோதி ஸ்வரூபமாவும் இருக்கு. அப்பேற்பட்ட ஜோதியை பார்த்தவர் வால்மீகி. ரைட்? தி இன்னர் மீனிங் ஆஃப் த வேதாஸ் is the divine light, and sage Valmiki is a person who could really see the divinity just like we see amla in our palms. Arangai angaila nelli nellikayana noduvadante appdin kanadathil solva. So you see the truth in very very clear terms. Vedaha prachetasadaasite sakshat ramayanatmana, and he was so filled with divinity that he had no option but to vomit it out in the sense of shlokas, and that is nothing but Srimad Ramayana. So is this process not similar to how rishis created Vedas? It actually is. Therefore, this is the one of the main reasons why we should learn Srimad Ramayana. Among other things, like I want to get a degree in Srimad, diploma in Ramayanam. This is the true diploma, that if you understand why Srimad Ramayana should be respected, for the simple reason, what is the Vishayam told here, who has created it, and why is it divine, we will not question why we should learn Ramayana. And there's never a late time in our lives to learn Srimad Ramayana. So in that context, I think I may have already, no, there's 10 more minutes. Yes. So we're looking at how sage Valmiki approached the divine Rishi, Narada, and he started asking him questions about who is that individual who is worthy of meditation. Right? And we had looked at the Balakandam. Yeah, there is a parampara in going through Srimad Ramayanam. Even if you were to do Sundara Kanda Parayanam, I don't know how many of you, of course this may add to your journey. Yeah, it will be good if you chant Balakandam first, for the sake of maintaining continuity. Balakandam, first chapter, is important for the reason that Balakandam covers everything in Srimad Ramayana. What happens in the 5-minute trailer, Amazon Prime, Netflix, that is what is Balakandam first sargam. You will get a sneak peek of the entire Srimad Ramayana, and then you chant Sundarakandam, and then you conclude it with Pattabhishek. So those of you who are not doing this, please try to add it in your regime. Okay. And the reason why we say that is the fact that Balakandam first sargam talks about Sri Rama himself. Buddhiman, Nitiman, Vagme, Shriman, Shatru Nibarhanaha, Vipulamso Mahabahu, Kambu Grivo, Mahahanuhu. Yeah, Ikshvaku Vamsha Prabho Ramayam in Sloka 8 of Balakandam. Sorry, I did not share this with you, but the intent is to quickly go through some shlokas. Okay, we'll go into the details of Sundarakandam in the next few classes. But the purpose here is to highlight the hero of Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam. Then we will go into the hero of Sundarakandam. Okay. So Ikshvaku Vamsha Prabhavaha Ramaha Nama Jane Shrutaha. So Narada tells Valmiki that you have asked so many questions to me. Who is somebody who has this quality, that quality? They are all very difficult to find in one individual. But there is a person who belongs to the Ikshwaku race. Okay. He is somebody who is known as Rama. And who is he? Niyatatma, Mahaviryaha, Dyutiman, Dhritiman, Vashi. He is actually a Niyatatma. Niyatatma means somebody who has control over himself. Yeah. Unless we have control over ourselves, we cannot think of understanding others and leave alone controlling others. So that's the very first step in controlling. Right? Any control system, algorithm, there is a complex machine like a turbine. How do you control a turbine? Integrated chip. There is a chip that controls the turbine. But what should the chip necessarily do? It should first understand not only turbine, but its own operation. And the control chip fail aayidana, turbine control panna mudiyadhu. Adhe madiri, you need to have control over yourselves first. So Niyata Atma is the very first attribute that sage Narada talks about Lord Rama. Then Mahaviryaha, he is somebody who has an incomparable prowess. He has so much of Viryam in him. He is Dyutiman. Dyutiman abdina, he has effulgence embedded in him. He is of the form of Jyoti. He is Dhritiman. Dyutiman abdin sonnaka, Ramar nama minna nekrar. Here Lord Rama is standing in front of us. And we are saying he is Dyutiman. Okay. He is somebody who is, let's say, 6 feet 5 inches tall. He has all the arms and legs like any normal individual. Maybe he has kiritam and all that. Where is Dyuti? Abdinaka, the question should be posed differently. How do I see him as Dyuti? And the answer to that is tapaha. If you were to do tapas or meditation, he will no more be a man in flesh and blood, but he is somebody who is full of effulgence. Abdingarde, he is Rishi Vedya. He is understood only by Rishis or Munis. So that is the secret that sannyasis will relish in Srimad Ramayana. That is the thing that each and every one of us has to actually realize in our lives. Dyutiman, Dhritiman. He is somebody who is self-commanding. He knows about everything around him, and he has a impregnable resolve. Once he takes a resolve, Dhriti, those of you who attended Bhagavad Gita sessions will probably remember Dhriti. Right? So that is something that is very important to have. Apart from Buddhi, Dhriti is something that we need to imbibe as an attribute. So in the Gunangalna solra illaya, what is the purpose of narrating all this? Yes, it's a story of a great person. So therefore, any hero in a story, if you were to go to a movie, that hero should actually look good. And, he is somebody who should be seen as dancing properly. He is somebody who should be capable of all kinds of fighting, which many times they defy physics, laws of physics. Our abdi adin kamchaka or 60 kilo person will rotate and fall somewhere. So that's the kind of virium that the heroes are supposed to have. Therefore, it is quite natural to describe somebody with all these gunas. But the hidden meaning is that these are all known as Atma Gunas. These are qualities that not only Lord Rama has, he has those qualities for a purpose. And the purpose is, the moment we see him, this is how an individual should look like physically. That is how you should gain your physique. when I see him, இப்படி அளவோ பேச வேண்டும். This is how you are supposed to speak. எவ்வளவு மதுரமா பேசுறார். ஆஹா, look at the control he has over his anger. So these are all inspirational qualities. What does that mean? We inspire, inhale those qualities in us. Inhale deeply all those qualities, hold it. Do not exhale them. So that is a process we need to adopt when we go through the Atma Gunas or Kalyana Gunas of Srimad Ramachandra Mahaprabhu. So the closer you get to understanding these secrets, you'll find going through Srimad Ramayana will be an enjoyable journey. Dhritiman, Vashi, and he is somebody who has everything under his control. So the very first statement of sage Narada actually shows that Lord Rama is an Ishvara. Why only an Ishvara can control everything, right? Atha sukshma sollirukkaringa. That is something that we should look at as a meaning in this slokam. Then Buddhiman, Nitiman, Vagmi, Shriman, Shatrunibarhanaha. So Dhriti comes ahead of Buddhi. Dhriti illai abdina Buddhi illai. So how do we acquire Buddhi? It is by first of all having a resolve that I will be somebody who will get that intellect. Yeah. Without that resolve, Buddhi will make no sense to us. Therefore, he is treated as a Dhritiman first, then Buddhiman, then Nitiman is somebody who is, the judge of the Supreme Court. He knows laws of nature, laws of himself, and therefore he is somebody who can create those laws and make others follow that law. Nitiman. Vagmi, abdina walk irukilla, walk me means somebody who understands what it is to speak. Vak shastramna ennade. How are we supposed to speak? Om para pashyanti madhyama vaikhari rupayai namaha. There are 4 different sthanas in our body. 4 different places which are supposed to be used, but most of us end up using only our face. Walk itself emerges from the way we control our prana, and Vagmi is somebody who really understands not just words and their meanings, but also knows the sancharam of prana in our body. Therefore, he only can become a Vagmi who has real control. We don't say the gift of the gab. All the politicians, there are lots of books also. How do you become a public speaker in the next 10 hours? Or book irukum. Adu paathelnaka neenga pesradhu ungalke puriyadu. Ana ellarum purinja mari kai thattuva. Everybody will clap. You will become a counselor and all that. However, in Sanatana Dharmam, you become a Vagmi only if you are a yogi. Then he is Shriman. Shriman is somebody who actually has all the divine qualities. I'm receiving the blessing again from one of our members in the audience, I guess. Is there a question by anybody? I see a raising hand. Okay. Vagmi, Shriman. Abhinaka Shri Naka Mahalakshmi. Inge Bhagavanade Swarupatha Rendavathu Slokathil sollitar. Our Ishwaran matram illai. Jagathukellam Ishwaran matram illai. Jagan Matayam kondavar. He is somebody who has Mahalakshmi as his divine consort. Then Shatru Nibarhanaha, he is somebody who can vanquish all his enemies. So in that context, he can take the form of Rudra himself. That is indicated there. Then Vipulamsaha Vipulam Sahana, he is somebody who has broad shoulders. That means he is not only somebody who has subscription to the gyms, but also goes to the gyms. Yeah. Most of us do an auto debit. Gym.com, we subscribe, pay 5,000 rupees or $50 a month. We will not know that even the money is going out. Right? Gym subscription பண்ணிட்டு போய்ட்டோம்னு வெச்சுக்கோ. So we'll go with all the dress required, but we will not do what the trainer says. Yeah. We spend the time with the trainer talking to him so that he will not give any further instruction, or he will give one or two which you can show that you are following. அப்படி கிடையாது. Vipulam Saha, he is somebody by his very birth, he had that beautiful body, but he developed it, and he ensured that he became a real Vipulam Saha. And then Mahabahu, broad-shouldered. Mahabahu அப்படின்னா ராஜமௌலிக்கு inspiration, Bahubali இல்லையா? Mahabahu, he had some strong arms அப்படின்னா, பாகுனா arms இல்லையா? He had very strong arms. நல்ல broad shoulders இருக்கு, ஆனா arms சரியில்லை சுவாமி அப்படின்னாக்கா சரிப்பட்டு வராது. You need to have broad shoulders as well as strong arms. That means he is somebody who can take on any physical activity with ease. ஏன்னாக்கா சத்ரு நிபர்ஹணஹா அப்படின்னு இருக்கு இல்லையா? He is somebody who can vanquish his enemies. So you do taekwondo and you can vanquish your enemies easily. Yeah. So that's correlated. So whenever a great rishi speaks a sentence, it is full of meaning. There is a reason why there is a sequence in which they speak. Nammala mari valalan pesamata. So Kambugriva, then he is somebody who possesses grivamna, neck, which is of the shape of a shankham. Okay, அப்படின்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? நம்ம சங்கம் இப்படி பார்த்துருக்கோம். என்ன சுவாமி விஷயம்? அந்த ராமச்சந்திரமூர்த்திக்கு கையில தானே சங்கம் வச்சிருப்பார் அப்படின்னாக்கா, அந்த கிரீவா அப்படிங்கிறது வாட் இஸ் இட் யூஸ்ட் ஃபார்? இட் இஸ் யூஸ்ட் ஃபார் ஜெனரேட்டிங் சவுண்ட். அண்ட் சங்கத்திலேருந்து என்ன சவுண்ட் வரும் நம்மளுக்கு? பிரணவநாதம் வரும். ஸோ the moment Lord Rama speaks, it will appear as if it is Pranavam himself that is emanating from his mouth. And who is he? He is the Ishvara himself. Therefore, he is definitely a Kambugriva. In fact, in the music world, இப்போ சா பா சான்னு சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா? முதல்ல சா பான்னு சொல்லுவோம், சா சா போயிடும், தொண்டை போயிடும் இல்லையா? எனக்கு காஃப் இருக்கு, கோல்டு இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிடுவோம். பட் அவருக்கு அந்த இது ஸ்ருதி எட்டாது. ஆனா கம்புக்ரீவான் யார் இருக்காளோ, they will be able to do a sancharam all through the octaves இல்லையா? மேலையும் கீழையும் எல்லாத்தையும் சஞ்சாரம் ஈஸியா இருக்கும். So such people are called as Kambugriva. And then Mahahanuhu, he is somebody, Hanuhu அப்படின்னா cheeks, ஹனுமான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா? ஹனுமான்னா சீக், எல்லாருக்கும் சீக்ஸ் இருக்கு. இதுல என்ன விசேஷம் அப்படின்னாக்கா, மகாஹனு இஸ் somebody who has prominent and strong cheeks அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். ஸோ அவரை பார்த்தாலே ஒரு சந்தோஷம் வரும். இப்போ if you go to a Archa Murti in any Divya Desham, the first thing you should notice is the divine face. அவருடைய திருமுகத்தை பார் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவா இல்லையா? ஏன் அப்படின்னா, you look at any Divya Murti in a temple, they would have sculpted it to suit what has been described in divine texts. இங்க இருக்கிறதா அங்க இருக்கும், அங்க இருக்கிறதா இங்க இருக்கும். ஓகே, அந்த சில மூர்த்திகளை நம்ம பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னாக்கா, we will automatically get that inspiration that we are seeing the divine Lord in the form that the rishis themselves saw. So therefore, that is something we should note. Next time you go to a Divya Desham, எனக்கு அடுத்த வாரம் சம்பளம் வரணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி போய் சேவிச்சுட்டு சுவாமி அர்ச்சனை பண்ண, அர்ச்சகர் வந்துட்டு குங்குமம் இங்க போவா சார் நல்லா இருக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ஆத்துல எல்லாரும் சௌக்கியமா அப்படின்னு இங்க போயிட்டு இருக்கோம். அப்படி பண்ணக்கூடாது, அர்ச்சகரும் அப்படி பண்ணக்கூடாது, நம்மளும் அங்க போயிட்டு அப்படி பார்த்து வரக்கூடாது. ஸோ யூ ஷுட் கோ ஸ்பெண்ட் டைம் see the divine Murti, but if you are able to get closer to the Murti, okay, spend some time there, look at the divine countenance of the Lord, then you will be truly inspired. Okay, so I think I have exceeded the budget today. We will continue our discussion. Sorry, those of you I may have disappointed. I'm starting Sundara Kandam. I don't know when we will end up starting, but I think it is important to understand why we should go through all of this. Is it really important to attend? It is part and parcel of our life. You will automatically associate importance to it. So that's the reason why we are going through this foundational thing. So I can entertain one quick thought, comment or question. I see no hands raising. So in which case, I will raise my hands. Okay. We'll pray to the Lord and then conclude the session. Guru Charana Puja Nirphara Bhakta Guru Charana Puja Nirphara Bhakta Samsara Chirat Bhava Mukta Guru Charana Puja Krishna Krishna Sendriya Manasa Niyamadevam Rakshasini Jadayastam Devam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate Asadyanagarim Divyam Abhishikta Sitaya Rajadhiraj Rajaya Ramabhadraya Mangalam Mangala Shasana Paraihi Madacharya Purogamehi Sarvaischa Purvairacharya Satkritaya Mangalam Kayena Vacha Manasa Indriyedva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Swabhavate Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Shriman Narayana Yeti Samarpayami Sarvam Shri Ramachandra Arpanamastu. Thank you. Have a great day and a week ahead.